The Accidental Entrepreneur is brought to you with the help of our sponsor, AWeber, the world's leading small business email marketing and automation service provider. Since 1998, AWeber has helped more than 1 million small businesses and The Accidental Entrepreneur is brought to you with the help of our sponsor, AWeber, the world's leading small business email marketing and automation service provider. Since 1998, AWeber has helped more than 1 million small businesses and entrepreneurs through its suite of web-based email marketing, automation tools, and education. AWeber, the best option when it comes to marketing your business. The podcast is also brought to you by the Alternative Board. Since 1989, the Alternative Board, or TAB, has been one of the leading peer advisory and business coaching organizations for independent business owners and CEOs across the world. By facilitating peer advisory boards, private one-on-one coaching, and strategic planning services, TAB helps business owners improve their businesses in ways that change their lives. And be sure to connect with our affiliate sponsor, GSM Growth Agency. They're boosting e-commerce businesses to 6 and 7 figures in revenue and cover everything from ads and social media influencers to making your website better. GSM Growth Agency focuses on taking businesses from startup success to bigger success, going above and beyond to make sure growth sticks around. They're all about cool ideas, lasting partnerships, and making your mark in the e-commerce world. And be sure to support the podcast by ordering some logo merchandise from our online store. Listen to all of our sponsors' commercials later in this episode and follow their links in the show notes to learn more about their products and services. All right, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm your host, Mitch Beinhecker. If you are listening on your favorite directory, leave us a 5-star review whenever you can. If you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like us, ring the bell, or if we have a bell, all those types of things. And I'm excited to get Cheryl on the show. We're going to talk about podcasting and how you can promote your brand and all kinds of great stuff, and learn about Cheryl's background. So let's get on with the show.
The information provided in these episodes is for entertainment purposes only. It is not a guarantee of success or to be construed as advice of any kind. You should always seek advice from local licensed professionals before making any decisions.
The dictionary defines an entrepreneur as a person who organizes and manages any enterprise, especially a business, usually with considerable initiative and risk. People often start a business without much choice, perhaps due to a job loss or just being dissatisfied at work, and they come up with an idea they just know can be successful. They become entrepreneurs by accident. That is to say, their success or failure happens by accident, not with intention. My name is Mitch Beinhecker. I'm a corporate attorney and a business advisor. You're listening to The Accidental Entrepreneur, my podcast about how to achieve success on purpose, not by accident. Join me along with our monthly guests, where we share our knowledge and help you get a hold of your business. And now on to today's episode. All right, Cheryl, can you hear me?
I can. Hi, Mitch.
Okay, good. Good to see you. Thanks for coming on. Sorry about the glitch before, and I didn't have the link, and we were all panicking. So I'll figure that out.
That's technology for you. No worries. I'm so excited to be on your show.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So maybe to get started, we can go back and talk about your background in business and corporate and all kinds of stuff, and then work our way into, because today we're really going to talk about like what you do. And if anybody out there is listening, whether it's for their business or their personal brand, how they can use podcasting to, because that's what I've been doing, to, promote themselves and all that kind of stuff. So maybe I'll let you take it from the back end. Does that make sense?
Sounds great. Well, in order to know the story of the corporate side of things, we need to go back to when I was 18, which is when I started working and volunteering in television. Is really where I cut my teeth, right? Community television when I was 18 years old. And then what that led to was eventually, by the time I was 30, a national television presenting role at the Weather Network, Pelmarks Media. And I spent 17 years at that company and was an on-air weather presenter for many, many years. I also managed a news department for several years there with a team of 17 people across Canada, bureaus, reporters, photographers, a whole network of user-generated content that came into us from Canadians, who were sending in their own videos. And this was really in the early days of UGC. So it was really a fascinating journey. And then in 2017, I decided
So
to
is that
leave.
like the equivalent of like the Weather Channel in the United States?
Yes, correct. Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, that's
Very
exactly
cool.
right.
Yeah.
Yes. And big organization, big media organization, and learned a lot around not only media and presenting, but also, like you said, the corporate side of things, especially when I was in management. I understood then, oh, I see how these interdepartmental, inner workings go. And so I learned a lot from that. But in 2017, I decided to leave the profession. So many changes that were happening there in television just led me to, and also just frankly, a nudge inside of myself to become an entrepreneur. And I did that.
Yeah, got it. And that's kind of like when all the streaming services were really heating up, right? Everybody was starting streaming services. Now there's so many of them.
Well, social media, I think that just the digital landscape, the fact that we even were at a meeting at one point where sort of an all employee meeting where they said, we're not really investing as much in television anymore, which is the division I was in. We're not investing as much in television. We're investing in digital. And that was a little bit of a signal to me. I thought, do I want to be on the side of expansion or on the side of what's retracting? And so, that in addition to the fact that I was just feeling this desire, it had been there for 17 years, I'd put in my time for sure. And I just wanted to take control of my own destiny, I think, as a lot of entrepreneurs hope to do. And then I eventually did that and started off with video marketing, which is something I knew very well.
So is that what you did? You started a video marketing company by finding clients like corporate people to do videos for them and promotion and PR and, the digital marketing stuff.
Yes. That's what I started with. And then it progressed into becoming really about media and visibility. And it really just eventually got to the point where I realized that it wasn't really about the video per se. It was what the video could bring someone. More visibility, more credibility, more reach. It was what came on the other side of the video. And then I applied that, of course, to other things that I've done since.
So when you started, did you have like a litany of people to approach because of what you had done on TV? Or did you like, what? I'm a TV person. I got nobody. I better start hitting the streets and knocking on doors. And I'm always curious as to some people obviously go into business because they take 2 or 3 large clients with them and, whatever, but some people don't. So what was your kind of journey there?
No, I definitely wasn't taking clients with me. It wasn't that sort of setup. No, I really had to hit the streets, as you put it. How I decided to do that was through speaking, so what I knew to do was to get in front of people and speak about my area of expertise. And that's obviously still what I do today, but I ended up going out and doing some speaking and meeting people, and obviously caught the attention of some key people who said, "Hey, I'd love to work with you and let's talk about it further." And that's how I was able to do that.
So where were you speaking? Like
I was speaking at private meetings, on podcasts, on different types of stages, webinars.
Anywhere there were business owners.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. But actually at that point in 2017, when I was really starting, I was doing local in-person speaking was what I was predominantly doing.
Right. Of course. Well, and you're looking for companies, I guess, that are not too large, right? But are large enough that they can afford your services and can take advantage of. It was all really video focused at that point.
It was video focused at that point for the first, couple of years. And, truth is, in that early stage, I wasn't knowledgeable enough to know that I should be narrowing it down to a certain size of business.
Right.
I didn't know that part. I just thought, I need clients. How do I find clients? And so I ended up going out speaking about my area of expertise to anyone who would have me on their stage. Of course. I caught the attention of people, and then I would create more, I would say more bespoke services for those organizations. So it didn't matter so much what the size of them was, because I wasn't doing a scalable program at that point. I was providing services.
Scope out the work and say, listen, I can do this, I can do that. That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, I think, I know from my 32 years as a lawyer, as a business lawyer, and the 400 interviews I've done, right? Niching down and being very specific about your ideal client profile and who you work with ultimately leads you to, more profitability, better quality of business. I mean, the whole thing. But when you're starting, like you said, you got to find clients. I mean, you'll deal with the client when they walk into the door, whether you can service them or not. Don't say no to anybody. And I think that's, you gotta, what do you got to do? If you want to get hit, you got to play in traffic, right?
Well,
That's how I
yeah,
look at
we talk about that at our workshop. We say that what gets you to 6 figures doesn't get you to 7. And the
Right.
same is true of what gets you to 7 doesn't get you to 8. And when each of those milestones, those big milestones, have different strategies. And the fact is that you can hustle your way
Yeah.
to 6 figures. That's really
Yeah.
what I was doing in that first year.
Right. But then it
And
changes. The hustling doesn't work, and it's not as
as you
profitable.
grow,
You're
correct.
just getting, caught up doing projects that you shouldn't be doing, that aren't as profitable, and trying to please everybody. And then, the quality of your life goes down, right? Because now you feel stressed. You're not sure. You're not focused. Every time you're dealing with a client, it's kind of a different approach, which is fine. It's bespoke anyway. But, I mean, I have very specific things that I do for clients. There's things people come to me. Could I handle them? Sure. Do I want to? Absolutely not.
Right.
And probably don't have the expertise because I don't focus on, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
It wasn't really until, I would say it wasn't really until COVID that I started to really dive deep and explore the digital product, the digital program aspect of it. Although I had knowledge prior to that of how to do it, but I wasn't
right,
focused on it. And then during COVID was really what forced me to really start looking at the digital aspect of things, which is more scalable as long as you
right,
have the right strategy. And so that's what led me to say, hey, we're seeing social audio taking off. We're seeing podcasting
right.
taking off because people were using podcasting and social audio, Clubhouse, for example,
Yeah.
as a way to stay connected personally and professionally.
Right.
It was really a lifeline at that point. And one of my most viewed video on YouTube is about Zoom. So that was
That's
taking
funny.
off. And
Yeah.
so I thought, what if we utilized podcasting as a way of building high trust relationships, which I've always known to work. I've
Right.
always known that the foundation of any good business is going to be built on relationships.
Of
So
course.
rather than focusing on audience metrics, and am I newsworthy? Am I this? And what are my downloads? And being obsessed with that. What if I directed my attention toward actually building quality, high trust relationships with people and see what happens? And that's really when things started to take off in a different direction.
And was the focus on video podcasting? I mean, or is there an audio component too? I mean,
I've always been a pro video person, so I like the video and audio aspect of things. I think as you do, right?
right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I
Mhm.
think I've definitely always gravitated toward the video side of things too.
Got it. I mean, just like blogging or anything else, it is building. I mean, you're building high trust relationships, but it's the client building, what do they call it? Authority, right? I mean, you're creating content, you're building authority, and whether you're appearing on podcasts or you're hosting your own podcast or whatever. So is that your company really just focuses on helping people, promote and grow their business through the podcasting channel, or do you have other parts of your business that you also do for
There
clients?
are other parts to it. What we're at Icon Maker, which is the joint venture that I'm a part of, with my 2 other business partners. What we
Mm-hmm.
focus on is to say, hey, leverage podcasting in order to build high trust relationships so
Mm-hmm.
that you can sell your high ticket program. That's
Right.
really what the path is. So yes, there are more components than just the podcasting. It's not podcasting for the sake of podcasting. It's podcasting within the structure of a system
Uh-huh.
to establish relationships and to allow for those high trust relationships to help you sell your program in an elegant way, in a non-salesy way, in a very cool way. And so there are a variety of different components to the program itself. Mm-hmm.
So are most of your clients, well, who are most of your clients? Are they corporate people? Are they online people? E-commerce? What are we looking at?
Not so, although we can certainly e-commerce people could benefit, but we have a tendency to attract coaches,
Okay.
consultants, experts, people in the expert space, speakers, authors,
Right.
people who are looking to turn their knowledge and wisdom and profit from that by packaging it up into a program. Now,
Yeah.
we veer more toward the program side of things, which is more comprehensive, like A to Z solution. as
Do
opposed
you help
to,
them build the program too, and
yes, correct.
run through the?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed to digital products, like say a self-study course or something. We don't
Right.
do so much of that. What we're doing is an actual program that's designed to help people get a transformation from A to Z in whatever the niche is, in whatever the area of expertise is.
Do you find a lot of, because obviously the coaching world itself is very vast, right? People are all kinds of coaches and life coaches and retirement coaches and business coaches and medical health coach, whatever. Do you find that a lot of people are not that focused when they meet you? Like,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't always ask the question, but you meet with different people, and sometimes it's very clear that they have a system and a program, and this is how they do it. Sometimes they are more just kind of, I'm not saying winging it, but more just consultative, and they don't really have a program, so to speak, that they put you through.
I'd say 80% come to us without without clarity. I think 80% of them come to us certainly without a program and the design that we
Right.
help them with. But I would say, yeah, 20% of them do come with, hey, you know what? I've served this many number of clients. I've earned this many hundreds of thousands, but 80% are newer, I would say, Mitch. People
Where you're
that,
helping build the program.
yes, they have a heart to help. They have a heart and a desire to want to have impact. But what we have noticed is that in the coaching space, and to your point, it is vast and there are a
Yeah.
variety of different ways to attract or to approach it. We have found that the majority of people come to us having been striving for and have been on a hamster wheel of trying every tactic
They're
under the
struggling.
sun.
Yeah.
And they've invested in a lot of different things and nothing's really ever panned out for whatever reason.
Right.
And that's predominantly what we're seeing. So that's why we choose to link our payments to results, which is very different in the coaching space. We don't see that a
Okay.
lot. We see a lot of guarantees, right? A
Right.
guarantee, 30-day back guarantee.
Right.
We're talking about actually linking payments to results, which is very different. And we feel that we're leading the charge on that for the coaching industry, frankly. We think that every coach should do that.
Okay. So that's an interesting comment. So that's kind of like your business plan, right? You're back there, you're starting a business. I guess it was just you to start, and then you merged with these other two people, and now you have Icon Maker. So from your standpoint as the business owner, right, what does the business plan look like? Because I'm curious as to how you came about to a results-based payment system and how that works.
Admittedly, it is not something that I knew about until I met my partner, Tom.
Oh, okay. Something that he
I
did.
wish I'd known of it.
Right.
I really
we
wish.
you get the best ideas from other people. There's
Oh
no
yes,
question.
100%. Yeah.
Right.
So Tom Danella and I came together in 2023. We purchased the assets of someone who was getting out of the podcasting industry to go into a different industry.
Okay.
Purchased those assets, and then that's how Icon Maker came to be. But Tom was really the one who introduced me to this concept of what's called strategic risk reversal. And the idea behind it is to link your payments to results. You have the price of your program. You do charge a percentage of the fee up front, because if you don't, people don't listen and they don't pay attention.
Like a
So
deposit.
there has to be some skin in the game.
Right.
There's
They don't
that.
show up if they don't have
They
any
won't
skin.
show up. They don't value what's free, right? So
Right.
we need to certainly get their skin in the game has to be in that section. But beyond that, they don't pay us until they're self-funded at minimum, if not profitable at every other subsequent stage of the program. So I didn't know about strategic risk reversal until I met Tom. And when I heard it, and I had to hear it a couple of times before I really got it, it's not something you hear about very much. And once I really learned it and really understood the power of what that really means, and obviously as a result of doing many, many workshops now where we explain it to all the people who come to a workshop,
right?
It's powerful. It's really, really powerful. And it's also great for the coach because you're able to stand by what it is that you're doing for other people. And you believe so strongly in your ability to get people there that you're willing to link payments to results. That puts the onus on the coach as well to up their game and say, hey, instead of just selling people stuff,
right,
why don't I stand behind what I'm proposing to do for people and be arm in arm with them in order to actually get the result?
Got
I
it.
think it's twofold and it's very powerful, but I wish I'd known of it years ago. I think that would have been transformative, but uh, here we are. I learned about it once we formed Icon Maker.
Well, it's not, I don't think it's every business owner that has the, we'll say, confidence to, be willing to say, hey, listen, we're going to get you results. And that's when you, for the most part, that's when you pay us, right? If we can't get your results because you're confident that you will, then you don't pay us, right?
Yeah.
Now you and I both know that the system is not an if, it's a when, right? And as you get better at it in the formula, setting these people up and getting their content out there and putting it together and so forth, it happens. It's the same thing with my podcast, right? It just took time to have enough episodes and enough content that I don't look for guests anymore. They come to me because,
Exactly.
you're, I forget her name, but the person who booked you on the show, who found me, I don't know how, right? She's not going to put you on a podcast that's got 5 episodes. Right. I have to find those people myself locally and say, Cheryl, I know we had coffee last week. Would you come on the show? We'll talk. And I did that for a long time. But when I got to 50, 80, 100 episodes now, then JC, right? I think it was JC.
Jace, yes.
Jace. Okay.
Yes.
Jace reached out to me because now she's coming to you and say, Cheryl, I want to get you on Mitch's show. He's got 300 and what episodes. You're like, oh, okay, great. Obviously something's going on there and he's sticking with it and so forth. So, but I think I don't know a lot of people who would be willing to work on basically a contingency. I mean, basically that's what it is, right? You're making your payment or contingent on the results that they get with the work that you do. Now, your advice and the work that you do is not cost free to you. It's not just your time, right? You have to produce. So how do you do that, right? You got studio time, you got people, you got cameras, you got production. How do you do that? They don't pay for that?
Yeah. So what we do is we do for ourselves, and then what we also teach our students to do is to say, you have to look at what are the hard costs of delivery of your program. So yes, you do factor in your time, but then there might be some hard costs. It depends on what price point people are building their program at, that there could be more, say, done for you elements, or even possibly run for you elements within the construct of a high ticket program, depending what level it's at. You have to know what those hard costs are and at what stage you incur those hard costs in your 5 stages, because we use a 5-staged approach because it works the best.
So you're telling your clients to also do results-based fees for their clients.
Yes, because they get more higher quality clients, and they are more profitable, and there are so many more benefits to actually doing strategic risk reversal.
Right.
So what we coach people through is, hey, you have to be able to get people results. And that's what we screen and qualify people for. We're not inviting everybody into the program. We're only inviting people in who we see can and have or have high potential to be able to get people results based on their expertise, wisdom, history, etc.
If they don't. Correct. If it's somebody that you don't think you can help, it's not good for them. It's not good for you.
Right.
Yeah. That's interesting because we talk about business planning, strategic planning, right? So if you're going to do that and you don't plan properly, right? And obviously they have you helping them, so that helps, right? They could accidentally go out of business because they're spending money and incurring costs that they don't have revenue to cover.
Right. They have to take that into account, and we coach them through that decision making as they build their program. But that's what you have to do, is you have to understand. Now, one of the things that we're really good at, because we're all about scale and being able to, scale the business, we do look at technology. We look at systems. We look at efficiencies that can be built into their program, ours and theirs, in order to be able to increase that profitability.
Of course.
But when, high ticket programs in and of themselves allow for people to be able to really dive deep and help someone actually get the result, right? Because they're not out there trying to get 1 million followers on Instagram to sell a $97 course or whatever.
Of course. No, they're looking to build high ticket, high value, close relationships, not a huge book of business, hundreds of clients, not thousands,
not millions or hundreds of thousands.
Right, exactly.
So,
Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm curious as to, because you don't obviously do, like, somebody just doesn't come to you, Cheryl, I want to start a podcast. Would you, help me do that? Right? You're working in a certain industry and bringing these tools to that industry, mostly coaching, right? But I would assume it's like a studio, right? I mean, you got to be putting these things together, producing the shows and figuring them out. And I don't know, what's the whole process on your side? Like, I'm more curious as to what they go through.
So,
because I do deal with podcast studios and stuff, but they're not industry specific. Like, they're
right.
not, right.
Before Icon Maker, I was doing that. I was teaching people how to start and launch their podcast, and I'm very capable. I could absolutely help somebody start a podcast.
And it was anybody, right? In those days, anybody wanted to do it.
I could help someone to start their own show, and I could help them, walk them through that. And that's what I did. I was helping people with their own podcasts. But what happened was, and I'm still capable to teach people how to do that.
Of course.
But what really became clear to me was that, and you know this because with your own show, this is driving business.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Not everyone who comes to me or others who can teach them how to do a podcast know the strategy of how they're actually going to leverage it to actually get the result for business. So I became somewhat, disinterested in helping people just create podcasts for the sake of podcasts, because I had to pick a niche for my own self.
Right.
And I just decided I'm more interested in entrepreneurship. I actually gravitate more toward the business side of things and the advisory and the consultative side of things as it relates to building business, because I think that it's the business that helps you get the life you want.
No question.
And there are lots of great people out there who teach podcasting as a hobby. And I just thought, hey, you know what? I really am more interested in the entrepreneurial side. I'm going to focus on that. And that's just was my decision.
Right.
So there are a lot of people who want to start a podcast for fun. And there are great coaches out there who can teach
or
that.
Even they got a different company that you're not going to necessarily work with, right? They're a manufacturing company and they want to have a podcast for whatever reason.
Sure.
You're not going to do that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if there's a business angle to it, then yes, I can help them with that. But what became clear with Icon Maker was that it's a part of a system. It's not only that one aspect of it.
Right. It's a tool. Well, so if a company came to you, let's say they're some sort of manufacturing company, right? Mm-hmm. And they wanted to do a podcast for their industry, like their association. I've seen this before. I forget what the company was, but a friend of mine ended up doing a podcast, was hired by this industry. So it's for the industry, because they want to work with other people in their industry and it creates value. Would that be something you would take on, or not really? Yeah,
no, I would, because what I would do then is I would start by ideating with that company, that manufacturing company, and start probing into what is it that would move your business forward. Okay. My suspicion is that in manufacturing, they would probably benefit from having stronger strategic alliances, or maybe vendors or other types of relationships within their industry that could benefit them. Like, it might not be a B2C thing. It might be more of a B2B thing.
Right.
Right. So if that's the case, then I would say, okay, great. Then you would create your podcast in order to facilitate conversations and invitations onto your show with people who you envision are people that would benefit your company, possibly, or high likelihood that it would benefit to build a relationship with said person.
Right.
So that's how I would
giving the vendor, let's say, a platform to talk about what they do and interviewing them and so forth.
Yeah. And in manufacturing, I would suspect also that it's not an industry where there are probably many, many invitations to come and speak on a podcast. So that would actually help you to stand out in and of itself. Right. Oh, you have a podcast? That's intriguing. Right. Oh, I get me? You want me to be on your show? I never get asked to speak.
Yeah. No, when people win like local entrepreneurship awards, or they're awarded something, the New Jersey Business and Industry Association awards, I contact them and I approach them. I say, I see you, you were placed second in this industry, and you that's fantastic. Can we talk about you potentially coming on the show? As an attorney, at least in the United States and certainly in New Jersey, I can't just like approach people. I mean, I could do whatever I want, but they could also file an ethics complaint, so it's a little different, right, with other industries and so forth. And the podcast itself, for me, Yeah, it does generate business. It's some of it's roundabout because I'm like landlocked to where I'm admitted. So New York, New Jersey for the most part. But it always comes to me some roundabout way. You know, I talked to you on the show and this person heard the show and knows this other person and they were in New Jersey and this person's in Colorado and said, oh, you know what? I heard Cheryl and she was talking on Mitch's show. Mitch is an attorney. And then they call me and that's kind of.
Yeah, that's right. And it's that, it's that type of, well, it's authority building, it's credibility building. It is also allowing you, certainly we know there are audiences. We know there are audiences.
Always. Yeah.
There are. But what we have been teaching is that we don't want the main strategy to be about the audience per se. We know and we recognize that there's an audience. But if you really focus on building a relationship and seeing where that goes, and that I'm not talking strictly in the sense of client to client, getting a client or a prospect. It can be, well, who does Mitch know?
Right.
Mitch
of course.
has
That's
connections
networking.
with people.
Not necessarily we do business together.
Right. It
Who
could
do you want to
be,
meet? Right.
it can be beyond that. It's who do I have access to that would benefit you? Who do you have access to that could benefit us? And be able to explore that or find introductions and be able to talk to more people. One of the things, I don't know if you find this, but one of the things I find with the coaching space, entrepreneurs, they're not talking to enough people.
Oh, it's usually the problem. Yeah.
They're not talking to enough people.
No.
They're head down on the computer, building a website.
Right.
They're head down doing some type of crazy thing with some type of graphic that they ought not to be doing.
Right. They're not really themselves. Selling, prospecting, or building business. And then people shy away from that stuff. They may be, as much as they are a coach, they're still people. They still, when they put on the salesperson skin, they still get hives to a certain extent. Like everybody is afraid of, I think they would rather, give a eulogy than they would give a sales presentation sometimes. Right. I just
talk to more people. And I think that that's also why podcasting is such an interesting medium. Podcasting is a natural fit for that strategy because it's predicated on conversation and getting to know people. And you get to do that in an intimate way over the course of 20 minutes, 30 minutes. It's an amazing touch point. I'm getting to learn more about you. You're getting to learn more about me over the course of doing this interview right now. So we're actually forging a relationship by virtue of doing this interview.
Of course. Yeah.
And so I think people would benefit, especially entrepreneurs and coaches benefit from speaking to more people.
Yeah.
Publicly and privately.
All right. So I wanted to ask you, two things. There's two sides of it, right? There, I have some questions about your customers and how you work with it, because as a podcaster, I know some of the issues about podcasting. Not everybody's good on a microphone. Not everybody's good on video. People are nervous, right? Whatever. And then on the your business side. So given the fact that a lot of the stuff you do is digital, is most of your company like virtual, or do you have like a studio the person's got to come into and you got, boom mics and a sound engineer and all this kind of stuff? I mean, how is that operated?
It is virtual. It is virtual.
Okay.
We, on the podcasting side, we lean more toward batch recording. We definitely lean more, we're virtual on that side of things. And when it comes to the podcasting part within the scope of how we're leveraging it for our program is batch recording it, repurposing it. It's virtual. The clients are conducting the interviews, even if they don't have a broadcast voice.
Like in a platform like this or StreamYard or whatever.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And that gets, we do all the back end things that we think that they ought not to be doing. That's part of our service, part of our program.
Right.
And so we do that for them. All they do is do the interviews and everything else is taken care of for them within.
You're doing the post-production, breaking them up into reels and TikToks or whatever the industry is. Yeah.
Admittedly, batch recording is the key to it, right? We're not producing a podcast on a weekly podcast and reinventing that wheel every week for 2 years we're approaching now 100 people.
Right. No, mine isn't either. Mine comes out when does it come out? Every Friday at about 9 or 10 o'clock when my VA gets it set up. But I record 2 on Friday. I used to be recording so many shows. I didn't know what to do with myself. Finally, I'm like, oh my God, I got to earn a living. My children need to eat and bills need to be paid, Right. And it gets crazy. So you got to manage that stuff. But yeah, definitely. I was doing a live show once a month. It got to be too much. It was I don't think it was really accomplishing anything. It would be great. Maybe at some point we will go live and just do this live on LinkedIn while we're recording it and then publish it in a couple of months.
Yeah.
But
there are so many different ways to approach it. There are lots of different ways to approach it. So many different, from a production perspective, so many different ways. And when people ask me, well, how should I do it? I say, well, we have to go back to what's the intent.
Right. Of course.
What is it you're trying to accomplish? And from there, the decisions about, well, should I do video and audio or just audio? Okay. What type of technology should I use? Should I do it on this program or that? Or where should I host it?
Everything. You're doing the whole thing.
All of those decisions typically can be made by understanding what I'm trying to accomplish through it.
Okay, so here's the tough question and how you filter through people. So people have approached me, right? I've spoken about podcast. I'm obviously not going to produce their podcast, right? And maybe at some point I'll refer them to you. But, people say, oh, will you come talk to us about podcasting? I go, well, I'm an attorney. Why would I do that? Well, you have a podcast, so you must know all about this stuff. I'm like, all right, I'll talk. Usually by the end of the show, half the group that wanted the podcast don't want to anymore, right? Because there's so much involved. But there are people, and that's why we had our little 15-minute chat, right? We met.
We did.
It's rare, but I have met people where I'm like, there is no way I'm getting through an hour. I'm not getting through 10 minutes with this person. They're not getting me anything. They're a dud, so to speak, and it's not going to make good content for them. It's not going to make good content for me. So there are a lot of people, maybe lots is the wrong word, but there are people that are uncomfortable, right? On the microphone, right? On the camera and all that type of stuff. So is that a weed out criteria, or is that like a different training path where we say, okay, you want to do this, we got to take you through a course where we get you comfortable on camera and on the microphone. For me, it came easy. I have no idea why, but I could see people I have people, Cheryl, and then I'll let you talk, executives who literally would email me every day up until the show. Are you sending me questions? Like, what are we going to talk about? I got it. And I'm like, trust me, I'll make you look good. It'll be a good, and afterward they're like, yeah, that really went well. But they were so nervous. And, so how do you handle that? Like what's been your experience?
I had 2 different stints in my career where I taught college. I taught television performance at the college level for journalism students who were taking, obviously, a journalism program.
Yeah.
But had no intention of ever being on camera. They wanted to be behind the camera.
Yeah.
But they had to take that course in order to get their diploma, to get their degree and move forward.
Right.
And I taught that course twice. My husband taught it for several years as well. We both worked in television for many, many years. And it always amazed me how at the beginning of the semester, we'd have people who were just shy and they just didn't want to do it. I don't really want to be on camera. And then I would just ease them into it and say, okay, we're taking baby steps here. Baby step 1, and then go through that. And they'd be like, oh, okay, I didn't melt.
Not so bad.
I didn't melt. That wasn't so bad.
Right.
And then by the end of the semester, they're out there speaking in front of the camera.
Immersion therapy, right?
Absolutely. It is really just about guiding people step by step and helping them build that muscle, build that confidence by actually doing it.
Right. But do you find that a lot of people need that help? I mean, they come to you and they're not so good on camera and they're nervous on the microphone, or not too often?
I haven't found that to be as much of a case now post-COVID than pre-COVID. I think what happened was during Zoom COVID, so many people had to get on Zoom.
And you start seeing yourself with this whole group, and you're right. Yeah, that's
Zoom
probably what took care of a lot of it.
Zoom helped train all the people. So to some degree, everybody was having to face the fear and do it anyway and practice every day and learn the technology and see themselves on camera and they got over themselves to a large degree over that period of time. And so I don't find that that's the case as much anymore as it was pre-COVID.
That's interesting. Yeah. A lot of things changed because of COVID. All right, let's take a short commercial break. I usually do about halfway, but we're 40 minutes in. And then what I want to do, I usually do in the second half of the show, let's talk about the things you see that people do wrong and some of the things you do right. I mean, you said one of the things was they don't talk to enough people, which is clearly a problem industry. It's not industry. That's industry agnostic, right? That's everybody's problem. But maybe we could talk about the things that you see when they come to you, the things they're doing wrong with all this type of stuff when it comes to digital marketing and podcasting. And so, because I'm I'm a big podcast. I love podcasting, and I think everybody should do it, but they shouldn't. Not everybody should do it. So let's take a break, and then we'll come back. Here's a word from our sponsors. Looking to market and grow your business? Or perhaps you're just getting started and want to hit the ground running? AWeber is the best choice for online email marketing and automation of your business. From maintaining a subscriber list to drip campaigns and landing pages, AWeber gives you tools and integrations that make marketing easy and fun. As our partner and sponsor, we use all their tools to promote the podcast and market our law firm. AWeber, the best alternative for online marketing. For over 30 years, the Alternative Board, or TAB, has built a thriving community of forward-thinking CEOs and business owners who want to radically improve their companies. Through unique combinations of one-on-one business coaching, participation in monthly TAB board meetings with other non-competing owners, a suite of strategic tools, and customized strategic planning workshops, TAB membership can deliver greater strength to your business and a better work-life balance for you and your family. All packaged in a streamlined and affordable service that the people at TAB invite you to try risk-free. Are you struggling with managing advertising due to a lack of time or expertise? Perhaps you're facing challenges in scaling ads for your store. Are you feeling lost when strategies have no success? GSM Growth Agency is your reliable partner in overcoming these business challenges. Feel the impact of collaborating with a team dedicated not only to short-term goals, but also to building long-term partnerships and achieving sustained success. Embark on an exciting journey to redefine the possibilities of e-commerce and create a legacy of unparalleled excellence. Take decisive action now. Follow their link in the show notes to receive a complimentary audit of your Shopify store conducted by a GSM expert. Propel your e-commerce game to new heights with GSM Growth Agency. Follow the link in the show notes to learn more about all of our sponsors. And now back to our show. All right, Cheryl, just thinking about something. Oh, we talked about like putting out content and keep going and I got 2 guests like pitched to me while we were talking.
I love that.
They always come in some really unique stuff. All right, so we're going to talk about the things that you see that people, do wrong. And by the way, when somebody comes to you, so you're handling all of because obviously you can't just podcast and that's your only digital strategy, right? That's content, marketing, building relationships and so forth. But you do have to put out things that like the engines will find in SEO and all that type of stuff. So how are you fitting that into your business model? Then we can talk about the things you see that people do wrong and how they solve them, problem and stuff.
Sure. So to address the first thing, because we focus on high trust relationships and because we're in the space of high ticket offers, we don't need to have millions and millions of people following us. And we don't need necessarily to build these huge social media channels and be an influencer and that sort of thing. So we don't focus as much on the social media side of things, although we're not saying it doesn't work or that you shouldn't have some baseline content out there in order to show that you're who you are and that you're an expert at your subject.
Right, but it's not a channel that those people necessarily need. But what about the website of it, right? Landing pages, you're saying it's a program.
Yes.
You handle all that?
Yes. So what we do is we focus on a conversion event. So what we do is through our approach, we say, we have to build out the offer. We need to start selling that offer. We need to validate it, and then we need to sell that offer. But then we do conversion event, and that's where we focus on web pages related to the conversion event.
Yeah, like landing pages, basically.
Yes,
right?
Correct. Landing pages and there are 8 of them, I believe, that we do as we do in our program. It's a service that we provide as a done for you service to others, but we create all those things for them. And that's how we approach it from a website perspective. And what we do, and you were asking earlier about what do I think is the big mistake that people are making?
Yeah.
The pitfall really, I think, is the fundamentals of deciding on who it is that you want to serve that has the problem you can solve.
Right.
And while that might sound obvious,
it's your ideal client profile. It's not obvious. I mean, it is obvious. Nobody does it.
Oddly, it's the most difficult thing for people to wrap their heads around.
Yeah.
Even though it's so fundamental and it seems obvious that, well, yeah, that's what business is you find someone who has a problem that you can solve and you propose to solve it.
Yeah.
So fundamentally sounds really simple, easy. But yet when I've worked with now hundreds of people, that can be really difficult for people to get their heads around. They go back and over and over, and they're in indecision, and they can't make a decision, and they don't know who it is, and they can't, I'm going to decide on this, and then next week they change their minds, and it's that loop, that incessant loop of indecision that happens that holds people back a lot. I in my experience,
I think it starts out with, like you said, when you and I got started in business, right? We pretty much would do business with anybody because we had to pay our bills and we had to bring in revenue. And you get caught on that hamster wheel, and you have to kind of I think, there is a transition, like you said. Maybe it's a revenue transition, maybe it's time and experience or whatever it is based on the industry, where you say to yourself, okay, now I've been doing this for so many times. I have this group. I'm good at working with this client. These are where my skills lie. And then you have to then change your strategy and focus that in. And I think a lot of, if they don't get the opportunity to work with people like you, I don't know how they're
just
it out.
looping. It's Groundhog Day. We can't figure it out. And so that continues to go on. And I think that that's one of the biggest hurdles, because everything else that happens stems from the decision of who it is that you want to serve.
Yeah.
And if
want
that
is
decision
a good word, by the way, Cheryl. Want, it's a choice. Like,
oh yeah, it's a choice.
Who you have to serve. Like, you could be really good at serving certain people, but you have no intent. Like, you do not want to work. Let's say engineers. You're really good at servicing engineers, but you're like, I can't deal with engineers. They drive me nuts. That's basically how I feel. I don't work with a lot of engineers. Hopefully none of them are listening to this, but they drive me a little nuts. I'm just not that detail oriented. So it is a choice, right? It's who you 100%. Want to work with.
Yeah. And you have to decide.
Yeah.
We have an 8-step approach to our methodology around how do you become an icon in your niche. There's 8 steps. The first step is decision.
Okay.
Like decide. Good. And I think it also applies to your actual strategy for your business. You need to also decide who it is that you want to serve. And that can sometimes be really challenging for people to decide and stick with it, because they feel, the reason why I think it's difficult for them to decide is because they feel that they're sabotaging their business growth by alienating a certain group of people.
Right. They think niching down and focusing reduces their opportunities to do. It does the opposite, though.
Yeah, that's right. People
that are most profitable are the ones that are really focused on who they serve and why they serve. And, they want to serve these people, but they also know that they can serve these people. I've never met anybody who's focused and niche down and is struggling because of that. It just doesn't happen.
No. Yeah. The second thing that I think is a problem that I see is really around the offer itself, how the offer is positioned, and the solution that you're proposing to put out there isn't often. What I see is that people are they're so focused on their area of expertise.
Yeah.
And I see this a lot in soft outcome related businesses, such as helping people to overcome childhood trauma, helping people to get in touch with their true self. There was a lot of this sort of ethereal kind of thing going on where people think, well, that's the business.
Right.
So they're selling mindset. And it's like, no. It's what is on the other side of them changing their mindset.
Right.
So you want to position
the clarity of their message is a problem. Like, they're not clear about.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
They don't get it. Okay. Well,
I'd say those are the two main things that I see. And they're early stage decisions and early stage foundations to all of the rest of the growth and scaling that can come. But you have to really nail that down. It can be difficult for people to do that without mentorship, without someone to bat that around with. And that's why a lot of people who don't invest in themselves or don't reinvest in their businesses and try to do it alone, that's why they struggle.
Yeah.
Because they're in their own head and they're romantic about what they want. They're romantic about what they think people want without actually having data, without actually having someone to bounce that off of.
Yeah. Actually, that's a big mistake that I see business owners make all the time, is that they think and they truly believe that they know what their customer or client wants. And 9 times out of 10, they are so often wrong. Like there's no connection. Like the reason that they're doing business is not the reason that you think it is. And the ones, like you said, that I know that are successful continually ask their clients and their customers, why are you here? Is this working for you? What made you do business with me to begin with? What do you think we can improve for the future? Because it always changes anyway, right? You can't stop asking that question. So,
well,
yeah,
and
I
I
mean,
think, Mitch,
huge.
I think it's two things. I think you do have to, I think you should ask, but I think you also need to take hold of observing the questions that people are asking you in your coaching call.
Yeah,
Be observant. Listen to what people are saying. So you survey and you ask, but also be observing and take your own notes as to what you're seeing in and of itself. Like, hey, gee, this seems to be a pattern. This is repeating. This is something I'm seeing across the board. Let's make notes. Let's talk about that, to the point where, in fact, we just recently came to some epiphanies of our own around that, and started making a few adjustments to our workshop material as a result of those observations, and also asking them, hey, what's working for you? What's not?
Right.
And now we're seeing, we're just had a workshop as of the recording that we're doing right now yesterday that is, was record-breaking attendance, record-breaking, retention, et cetera, because we made a few adjustments. Yeah. And that's what marketing is measuring and adjusting.
Big time. Well, that's good advice, because it's not just what people tell you, but it's what they actually do and ask and say, because they may not even realize half the time. Yeah, no, I think that's definitely a big one. Well, I think it doesn't really matter the industry you work with. A lot of these things are universal in terms of the struggles that business owners have to, be successful and to promote their product, or in this case, mostly services, right? So if somebody wants to get started in like podcasting, they say, and this is what I tell people, right? If you want to create content in that, niche, or what's the word, in that vertical, fine. How do they get started? I mean, if they don't fit your profile, how do they do it for their business? Should they, start buying equipment and jump on Spotify and start recording stuff?
I mean, I think if it's not for business, if you're really just doing it because you want to have want
to cook or something.
You just, it's a fun thing that you want to do, and it's a hobby. I mean, the barrier of entry is so low now to create a podcast.
Yeah.
And so you can,
that are available, right?
There are so many great tools, right? You can do it on your phone. You could do it.
Anchor. Is Anchor still out there?
No, Anchor's not a thing. No, Anchor's not a thing anymore. Okay. No, everything changes, Mitch. Everything changes every year. I think I like RSS.com as a host. Okay. I think you can, if you're doing it for a hobby, you can do it on your phone. I don't think it needs, if I was doing it as a hobby, I would probably do an audio only podcast. Right. I would probably use RSS.com. I would record it on my phone and just upload it, occasionally, maybe once a week, and do my own thoughts and ideas. I don't happen to specialize in that as much anymore, but that's what I would probably do.
Yeah, it's basically an audio blog, right? I mean, that's basically what you're doing, putting out your...
That's what I would do.
If you're cooking, obviously it's got to be video, right? Because people need to see what you're doing.
Sure.
Right. Yeah. Okay, what about from a business standpoint? I guess, how do people interact with you if they want to learn more about what you guys do and see if it's, especially if they're coaches? I get a lot of coaches come through here. They want to learn about what you do.
If you are thinking about podcasting for business, then it would probably be a good idea to hear some strategies on how you would leverage a podcast for business. Okay. And therefore, the best thing I could advise from our perspective would be to go to iconmakerlive.com, where we do workshops.
In the show notes. Okay.
iconmakerlive.com, we teach the entire 8-step methodology of how you can leverage it. And there's some advanced strategies in there. People love our workshops. I have tons of recommendations on my LinkedIn as a result. Mm-hmm. That's where people would learn, oh, I get it. So that's how I would use podcasting. That I think is the first step, is learning a new strategy of how you'd actually leverage it to benefit you in the business side of things. That's one of the things I would recommend for sure.
Okay. And it's an online, it's an online webinar, right? So somebody in the United States can work with you. It doesn't matter where they are, right?
Yeah, we have people all over the world. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Very good. And obviously you have a LinkedIn profile, because you just mentioned that. So that's a good way to get a hold of you. All right. Well, we'll put all those links in the show notes. Okay. yeah, I can't thank you coming on, sharing this stuff. I'm always getting questions about podcasting. I want people to know that you can build a personal brand or, your consulting business that way too, if it's good for what you do. But if you're nervous about it and you want to do it the right way, you got to work with professionals. I mean, you just can't, like you said, become good at what you do. Don't think that you can become good at everything else. Like, it's not possible. You become okay, then you can become mediocre at everything.
Yeah. Really get focused. I think the big thing is about focus. If you can focus on one program to get you to 7 figures, if you can be focused on a right fit client who you can serve and that your offer is aligned to serve them at the highest level, it's really about focus, because what we're seeing is such a fractured approach and a kind of a scrambling and a desperation of trying to do all these different things. And you're sabotaging yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And they're just scrounging around trying to make it work. And now look, working with you definitely gets them focused and on track, and you'll keep them track and accountability and all that type of stuff. So plus you have the approach that they basically don't pay you unless you get them results. So it's a no lose situation for everybody, because you're going to get them results. I mean, it's just, or else you're out of business too. So Cheryl, I can't thank you enough, and stick around for the credits, and then we'll wrap things up.
Thank you.
There we go. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Accidental Entrepreneur. Opening and closing music written and performed by Howie Moskovich and made to order music. For information about Howie and his music services, please follow the link in our show notes. If you like the podcast, please tell others about us. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, on Amazon Music, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and most of the other podcast directories. If you like what you hear, please leave us a 5-star review and feel free to share our episodes on social media. If you have any questions or comments, ideas for the show, or you'd even like to appear as a guest, reach out to us by email at info@beinhackerlaw.com.
The Accidental Entrepreneur is hosted by Mitch Beinhacker and produced by Beinhacker Law. If you'd like to learn more about our business and legal services, you can find us on social media or visit our website at beinhackerlaw.com. Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe to our feed to be notified of all future episodes.